This is part three of our playtest of the lands remaining. For people watching this video, the group is talking about keeping the campaign going after this, for at least for a little bit longer. So this may not be the last episode of this story. We still have to figure out dates, and it also is going to depend on how much of the game is done. So, but just know that like your time here with us is, well spent, and it might be continuing afterwards. So, with all that said, let's do our startup session. And of course, the very first thing we do in startup session is to stoke the fire. And we have four fires stoked, I believe. So let's get into it. Whoever wants to start, read the prompt and then do what it says.
Well, I can go, but I also went first last time, so I'm willing to cede the ground if somebody else wants to.
Go ahead, because you're going to have the first scene when we start, so
Okay,
it'll come
fantastic.
around. Yeah.
All right. So narrate a flashback to the first time you were named a monster. Who witnessed your work and fled in horror? And what part of their terror did you quietly understand, even as you refused to stop? The woods here are different than the ones that Nizella grew up in. It's a higher elevation, the trees are thinner, but still a healthy, flourishing forest, especially this time of year. It's early spring. There's new life everywhere. Nizal, the orphan of the West Woods, lies in the roots of a large tree. Her martyr above her, Ephraim, what's his name? She's done her work and now she's waiting and listening. This is going to take a while. She's tied his rib cage with vines so that his lungs are supported when his arms and legs give out. This is a trick that she's learned from years of doing this to extend the martyrdom. It's one that she had to teach herself. She hasn't had many interactions with the Crux Druids since her initiation. It's a few conversations here or there, but mostly their communication is in glyphs carved into the hollows of dead trees. She doesn't have much conversation with anyone, really. As time's gone on, it's harder to disguise what she is when she goes into the villages. She can usually manage it long enough to ask for directions or to barter for iron, but she doesn't really have deep conversations with anyone, except for the martyrs. This one, Ephraim, actually spoke to her on their way here. As they were walking through the woods, he pointed out the new flowers, the vibrant colors. He pointed out the activity of the birds as they fussed around their nests, indicating that there were freshly laid eggs there. Truthfully, she didn't really know how to respond. It's been so long since she's talked to people. But she feels more certain when they reach the tree and the rite begins. She's confident here. She's sitting in the roots of the tree and she's carving a piece of discarded wood that will become the Tenderbark Confessor. But that's just idle, busy work for her hands. Her real task is to listen to the babbling and gasping and coughing that Ephraim is doing, to the rhythm of his blood as it drips from the branch down to the stones below, to the buzz of the wasp's nest that she's lodged inside his belly, to the bird's song, the birds that he pointed out on the way here, to the way that all of these things blend together into the truth that's buried somewhere in their middle. Then she hears the approach of footsteps. She's on her feet immediately, ready to defend her oracle. She's never had to do this. She's been wandering the land for 5 years, and she's never had a ritual be interrupted or discovered, but she's ready. The man that crashes through the tree she recognizes, although she didn't get his name. This is Ephraim's brother. In the village, he tried to pull Ephraim away from her, his eyes wide with suspicion, apprehension. He noticed the nails lining her belt. He says, "Please, please." He cannot be removed from the tree. She realizes that there's no fight in this man, and so she lowers her club. His eyes are already welling with tears. And as though it might be some kind of comfort, she says, he was willing. And Ephraim's brother says, no, no, he didn't. He didn't know what you were. He couldn't understand. And there's something about the tone that catches her, and it clicks. She thinks back on the interactions that she had with him and the openness that he had towards her in the village that she took for solidarity, but it wasn't that. And the way that he pointed out the colors of the flowers, he told her that he tended the sheep, that he was proud to do a fine job. He couldn't understand. She says again, he cannot be removed from the tree. And the three of them stay in this position for some time. Ephraim writhing on the tree, his brother clutching the nearest trunk for support, and Nizelle, the orphan of the Westwood, standing between them. She watches his brother's face transform with this devolving grief. And although her face remains stoic, it's as though these emotions are pulling her thoughts. She's retracing every interaction that she had with Ephraim. She's repulsed uh, by the fact that she didn't realize, though what difference would it have made? And then something occurs to her, and there's a connection, and it's an uncomfortable connection. But once it occurs to her, she can't let it go. There's a comment that she made to him as they were walking, just a banal fact about a bird they noticed. These birds have a beautiful plume, but they only show it when they're in distress. And she learned that from the druid that trained her. And maybe it's just a trick of memory, but thinking back, it seems now that it may have been said in the same kind of tone of someone who was not really engaged in the conversation, was already thinking about something else, perhaps already thinking about the sacred tree at the end of the path. What did Ephraim want when he agreed to follow her from the village? What was he seeking? Not martyrdom, connection, recognition, to be seen as more than he was seen as in the village. These are the same things that she wanted when she was a child. She met the Crux druid that would become her mentor when she was 12. She murdered her mother when she was 17. She did not understand the sacrifice. They didn't spell anything out until she was too far down this path to turn from it. And even if they had, could she have understood? Could she have understood what it meant? But perhaps there's a method to this. Nature doesn't make allowances to protect the weak. And as she knows, it's much easier when they're willing. Ephraim's brother's stomach gives out when the wasps find Ephraim's eyes, and he flees. When he returns several days later to reclaim the body, he realizes what Nizelle meant when she said that he could not be removed from the tree. The spikes that she's used are intended to cause more harm with additional struggling, and they tear as things are removed from them. So as he tries to pull the body down from the tree, what's left of Ephraim shreds into a bloody pulp. There's nothing substantial to bury. Nizelle is not here to witness this. She has sought out an alpine stream. She's discarded her belongings and submerged herself up to the chin in frigid water. This is a penance, but whether it's for Ephraim or for the doubts in her mind, it's difficult to say. She allows her entire body to go numb. She gives nature a chance to take her back, but it doesn't. And eventually she climbs out of the stream, takes up the Tenderbark Confessor, and continues the work.
I can go. Gavin stands in front of the glowing path, a long stretch of ever-burning hot embers and glowing stones. The path leads to the entrance of a small cave, the womb from which all darkness is born, a rift in reality where the abyss spills into the world. But here the darkness is yet held back by the glowing path and the candle bearers on either side. Gavin sheds his robe, now completely naked, and takes his first steps towards the abyss over the hot embers. Each candle bearer he passes touches him. A comforting squeeze of the shoulder, a gentle brush of hands, a reverent touch lingering on the small of his back. With each touch, they raise their burning branches, hot wax dripping down Gavin's naked body. The wax slides from his collarbones to his chest to his hips, down the length of his legs. It gathers in the curves and angles of his body until he is more waxen than flesh, more statue than man. All the while, the candle-bearers chant. The waxen order keeps the flame, and our hearts burn unafraid. In light we are sheltered, in shadows we seek. Gavin stops before a handsome older man, silver creeping in his hair and beard, holding two burning branches. One with so many candles it burns like a bonfire, another with only a single candle placed upon it, unlit. The voices fall quiet. Only Gavin speaks now. And I am a beacon most lonely, a promise and a plea for mercy. The man, called Ruvain the Luminous, tenderly places two fingers under Gavin's chin and lifts it, tipping his burning branch to Gavin's eagerly parted lips. It is not wax that spills from it, but flame and fire itself. Gavin swallows. Ruvain leans in and seals Gavin's mouth with a kiss like a wax seal. Gavin's heart burns hot in the hollow of his throat. Then Ruvain speaks. To us you swear no oath. It is the fire that shall ask something of you, and only to the fire you shall answer. It shall be your duty as candle-bearer to illuminate the dark places of the world, to see what is unseen, and to kindle light where none wishes to burn. To love the fire is to know the dark. Let the fire find you worthy, or let the darkness fade you into memory. Go now, Gavin. May you burn bright. He hands the unlit burning branch to Gavin and steps aside. Gavin walks into the darkness. And in that darkness, Gavin is unmade, unraveled. He learns 100 words for pain and 1,000 for despair. In this dark, so absolute and unforgiving, the absence of all light, of all good, he is helpless. He is a small, fragile thing, cold and dying. He searches for the light, for a fire, anything at all to light his candle clutched between frozen fingers, but finds none. Time loses all meaning. Every heartbeat a second and a lifetime of the world. He grows hungry and exhausted. And then something beyond that. There is no light. There has never been light. Not in this place. There is nothing. There is nothing to light his candle. But there is. A soul forged in defiance of despair. A fire kept within. And in that realization, the fire speaks. Gavin breathes out, and the candle alights with his soul and oath. He shall be Gavin the Everlit. He shall guide those comfortable in the dark back into the light. He shall be the light when there is none left. He shall be ever bright. And so Gavin returns, stepping into the first light of sun as the dawn breaks, triumphantly broken and burning anew.
I will go next. Narrate a flashback to a moment where you first sensed the dimning on the horizon. What form did the dimning take for you? I'm picturing Old Smoke is so consumed by this memory, given his recent battle with Mortis, where his stomach dropped out and he's brought back to that first hint of the dimming. Again, that feeling of emptiness and cold. The first night that the dimming took the order. No flame could last through the night. All light was extinguished in an all-consuming darkness that swallowed all light and muffled sounds like cotton in the ears, or your head pushed below the surface of a cold mountain stream. Cries of alarm went up. We thought we were under attack. It was only to our horror did we discover that we were not alone, that others within the royal vicinity were also subject to the same all-consuming dark. And even more terrifying, come morning, when the first hints of light were able to illuminate for us what we truly had lost. Every text, every tome, every missive had turned to ash. Even those most ancient in the library and the records in our vaults were reduced to nothing. The dimming stole our memories, our history, our stories. The second night, the same consuming swallowing of light and flame. And while we all did our best to guard ourselves from what we expected to be more assaults on our most sacred treasures, we could not expect what the morning would bring. The children, some vanished from their beds, others laid low by a wretched plague, twisted and left, dying in their mother's arms. Our future was stolen by the second night. The horror we could not prepare for, no matter how many guardsmen the kingdom mustered, no matter how many watchers the order sent. The third night we all quaked in fear, even those most brave and stalwart among us. We could not expect what would come. On that night, I stood with Grandmaster Zaven, ready for whatever the dimming would bring, and upon sunrise was horrified to find the Grand Master himself was laid low. Our elders, our wisdom was stolen from us. The cries went up. I remember My brothers in the order, first grieving, and then suspicion and mistrust. The fourth night, it did consume the light, but what was lost from us was the trust of one another, and the chaos that ensued was our own invitation of our doom. The dimming had pushed us over the edge. We invited this in. Somehow the loss of our memories, our future, and our wisdom were enough, for in 3 short nights the dimming pulled down the pillars of civilization itself.
And I will narrate a scene showing the spectral legion roaming the land. How do they bring further sorrow or woe to an already blighted place? Why is it important that you release them from their burden sooner rather than later? So, back in the present, then. Candles are lit on a headstone in the grand cemetery, wax dripping down. The already further years of wax that is already set over the epitaph, making it illegible. We see it is the diligent work of the funeral procession on their cemetery patrol, pleading madly for the dead to rest, to find their resolution. But my legion is restless beyond reproach, and their resolution is already awake. The choir's song is cut short by a volley of arrows perforating their desiccated skin, arrows loosed from behind the tombs from where spectral spearmen charge out to rush down the remainder. The bodies of the procession are dragged and piled as feed for the morning tower to feast with grasping roots that chew like teeth, working the dead into elegy's foundation. My legion marches the island with a regiment precision, the envy of any commanding officer, but no one commanded this. Look what they do to elegy, peaceful, restful elegy. The fresh flowers laid in the little graveyard are trampled, carrion birds scared off of the grave markers. The skulls piled in the grand cemetery fall in avalanches before their march. Hanging trinkets blow in heaving, howling wind. Black cortege members dressed in black leathers defend their dark corners of the graveyard against these ghastly green soldiers. Vera, the white veil, is served well by her instinct to skirt away from direct conflict, and she listens, admiring Mortis's work as he systematically dismembers a phalanx of knights lost in the dark. Meanwhile, on the beach of Elegy, another mound is piled of bodies, collected from the praying crowd of mourners dressed in finery. Even as their broken bodies are arranged to be set alight, they are still crying out for escape. And the smoke from this great pyre, like the burning braziers of the towers of old, is a signal to summon the spirits back from across the island. The ghosts leave their victims and their gravestones and their bones behind and file down to the sea. The sea remembers them too, and offers them passage on spectral galley ships that emerge, splashing, bobbing up on top of the waves. They prepare to set off, to leave this guardianship they were charged with in an age gone cold. And even then they guarded loyally, loyally past breaking from loneliness. Now boarding this meager fleet, a quartet of galley ships that, upon the taking of our journey, will follow far behind and to either side of the boatman's ferry. They will look more like an invading host, setting sail for a mainland to reconquer. Thus, they turn their frustration that they were left behind, names forgotten, outwards to the lands remaining.
Fantastic work all the way around. I need a quick 2-minute bio break, but then we'll come back and continue. Okay, the next thing to do is to recap active mysteries. There are not any active mysteries currently. However, I will remind you that you still have a complexity 8 question back on Elegy, so that's something to be mindful of. We also have to get rewards for the resolved Elegy mystery, which technically resolves when you get on the boat, but we'll do that shortly. I do want to check in on which conditions you have. And it occurs to me I don't have our character keeper pulled up for some reason. How did I manage to start that way? Let me find the link.
I think I might need to be starting the session with a new condition because I stoked the fire to bump my.
Oh, I'm not
my
giving you
sacrifice.
any extra. I'm not giving you
Okay.
any extra. To me,
Okay.
like marking the old fire, like I will often like not do any extra complication because that's such a big like penalty for a roll.
Yeah.
So Nizelle has the curse of House Durellen. Gavrin has Herald of the Kindled Heart scratched up, and the burden of House Durellen. Shelf is okay, and Old Smoke's okay. Fantastic. And then in that case, okay, so we need to resolve that situation with Nizelle. So I described Nizelle getting booted off the island, voted off the island, as it were, by Fen, down into the ocean, into the fog-shrouded sea. But we'll rewind back to the point of the initial conflict. I'll even give you narrative control. I wanna see what happens. You instead of that happening, you manage to crucify old Fen, or Fen. What does that look like?
I liked the detail that Harrow is on the side of House Durellen, so I'd like to keep that. Um,
I'm into it. Yeah.
yeah, so she swings Harrow, he goes wide, it goes wide, and she curses under her breath and lets go of the end of the chain, just kind of like, fine, don't help me then. And she takes up the Tenderbark Confessor and does battle with the Tenderbark Confessor, which can still be quite damaging. Fen is not a fighter. He's a gravedigger. So although she's sort of slight and slender, she does get the better of him. And then she's doing this quickly because she knows that people are waiting for her down below, and she doesn't want to be any more suspicious than she needs to be. She picks the side of the tree where you can see there's a view of the sea, but not of the boat, so that it won't be visible as they return, if they return. And she strings him up, she nails him to the tree, and she tells him, "This will be long and it will be painful, but when it's finished, you will die a true death." And then she goes and retrieves Harrow. And as she goes back down the cliff, muttering to Harrow, it's like, "You think anyone else is going to get you off this island? You think Gavrin the Everlit is going to pick you up? You think you're going to be happy tucked into the bookshelf?" And boards the boat.
As Pale Crossing leaves the shores of Elegy, you all will hear faint screaming, eventually coming from all over the island, as perhaps unbeknownst to you all, the Nameless Legion specters begin slaughtering funeral processionaries. You have concluded the Elegy mystery. You are now entitled to rewards. let's do that. So, whenever you finish a mystery, you get rewards. The very first thing you have to decide is, as a group, you have to pick one of these two side characters to become a supplicant. A supplicant is a special type of character who can be found at the Morning Tower after you open the Morning Tower. So they're kind of always there. They might occasionally be found out in the wilderness too, but they're always going to be in the Morning Tower when you visit the Morning Tower. So your choice of supplicants can be either Vera, the former member of the Black Cortege. You gain one extra clue on the information move when you consult her about matters related to assassins, the dead, or secret orders, even on a miss. Alternatively, you can send Sir Kalen to the Morning Tower. Sir Kalen is the sad, cold Ember who Old Smoke met briefly. Sir Kalen gives you one extra clue on the information move when consulting him about matters related to roads and paths, even on a miss. And so, as a group, you must all unanimously decide on who goes to the Morning Tower as a supplicant. Is it going to be Vera or is it going to be Sir Kalen?
I'm gonna have to leave it up to you guys because a sad knight or a former assassin, those are my two weaknesses. I cannot choose. There is no choosing.
I mean,
They both sound awesome.
I'm in for Vera. She has disclaimed decision making on like killing us at least twice now. That's great. I need more of her.
Yeah, I also really enjoyed the interaction between her and Old Smoke. I'd love to see more of that. So I'm also Team Vera.
I do think it's interesting that Vera kind of vanished right before other members of the Black Cortege showed up to try to kill you.
That's what I'm saying. It's her MO, and it's a good MO.
More importantly, she gave Old Smoke the obsidian key.
Very well
So-
then.
She gets my vote.
I don't know if she's a good guy, but I like having her as a recurring character. I want her around.
Very well. Vera will be a supplicant of the Morning Tower at the Morning Tower. And now you each get to choose one item. We assume that this is something that you found in your travels on Elegy, but we didn't talk about it or memorialize it. I'm gonna have to do a little screenshot here. It's kind of an awkward screenshot because of where things begin and end on the PDF. So apologies for that, but I will drop that into chat. I will read it aloud though for people who are watching the video. You can have the bell of the long wake, a small handbell tarnished and cracked that rings without sound. The bell grows colder each time it's used. The mourner's candle, a long black candle that never shortens. When lit beside the dying or the dead, the flame turns blue and whispers their final thoughts aloud. A moonlight shroud, which is a funerary cloth woven from grave moss and moonlight. When wrapped around a body or yourself, it masks breath and heartbeat, hiding the living from spirits and the restless dead. There's the gravedigger's nail, a single rusted coffin nail worn smooth from frequent handling. When pressed into the palm, it lets you sense hollow spaces, buried things, or the nearness of graves. Or the salt of the departed, a small pouch of coarse gray salt, said to be drawn from the tears of the dead. Scattered in a circle, it wards off spirits and shades until the circle is broken. You each get to pick one thing. Who wants what?
I have to take the gravedigger's nail. From Fen after I crucify him, right?
Oh, indeed, yeah. Oh, yeah. That kind of literally, like, yeah, like you did a nail. Yeah. I don't think you're going to get any objections there. Anybody else want to pick one?
I can stay on team and take the candle.
Even more candles.
Why not? Why not more candles?
I mean, I'll take the moonlit shroud if no one else wants it. It just seems to go with my shroudy finery.
This, hmm, this may be outside the scope of the session here, but I guess would it be possible to name an item that is not on this list?
That is not in the rules currently, but
Right.
I'm not opposed to it. What did you have in mind?
Uh, I think I want well, my idea of what to call it would be void ink from the void.
Hmm.
And that would be the ink that Threnody used.
Oh, I
Sort
like
of
it.
like a version of
Yeah,
the ink that Threnody used to write my name. At least one aspect, I think, is that death knows each name that is written with it.
oh, I like it. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, take that. That's good. Fantastic. All right then. I assume, Alina, there's a way to add these things to the character keeper. I can't see it
Yeah.
from the player side. So. All
Yeah,
right.
so either on the more, there's a rewards tab, or on your relics down at the bottom, there's manage equipment. And if you are going to mark something as an aspect, you just put little brackets around it and it translates that.
Fantastic. Let's do our first journey. Whenever the Embers travel from Elegy to the Lands Remaining, or between mysteries when in the Lands Remaining, you do a journey to memorialize that travel and the passage of time. Generally speaking, journeys tell the story of a landmark or group of people you pass by in your travels. Each journey has 4 prompts, and each time you pass through that place, we mark the next prompt and do what it says. After all 4 prompts are resolved, meaning you've traveled past this place 4 different times, you get a reward. In addition to narrating the journey prompt, this is also the best time to make camp, as journeys are generally considered safe for make camp purposes. Now, your first journey on Pale Crossing doesn't have a prompt to resolve, but future journeys on Pale Crossing will. But you can certainly make camp still on this dreary little boat. So let's read the make camp move. The make camp move says, when you and any other number of embers settle down to rest, you can tell a pleasant story from the time of the old fire, or engage in your ritual. If you do, clear an appropriate condition or unmark an appropriate aspect. Then, as a group, you discover a clue. It says for an active mystery, but in this case it'll be for the Morning Tower. Tell the keeper what it is. The clue cannot conclusively answer a question by itself. Now, there's more to do if you ever make camp in a dangerous place, but we're not going to deal with that right now. So for now, you're going to have this scene on Pale Crossing, which I'll just set up for you more in a little bit, here in a bit. But be thinking of the pleasant story that you want to tell about the time of the old fire, or something you remember from the time of the old fire. It has to be pleasant, and or do your ritual. Now, you each have a ritual, and as noted in session 1, we don't really know at the start what those rituals mean, but this is your chance to tell us what the ritual is and what it looks like when your character does the ritual. And in the middle of all that, after all that, you get to clear a condition or unmark an aspect if the fiction kind of makes the case for it. Any questions about journeys or make camp? Then let's talk about this journey on Pale Crossing. We'll talk more about the boat in future journeys, what the boat looks like. For now, it's enough to just know that it's fairly small, basically big enough for the boatman to stand at the prow and for the 4 of you to kind of sit in a circle as needed and chat. Perhaps the more interesting part of the journey on Pale Crossing is that in the fog-shrouded sea, it got its name for a reason. You're always going through a bunch of fog, which doesn't make sense for a sea, but it is what it is. And that fog is always being cleaved away by the boatman's violet light, his lantern light, right? He says nothing. He's always very quiet on these journeys. The sea is normally an ocean, roiling waves, what you might expect from a sea. But when Pale Crossing is on the move, the water is perfectly still. It's almost like gliding across a perfectly still, vast lake rather than the ocean. And that's where you find yourselves as we get ready to make camp. The scene is yours. In order to get the benefit of the make camp move, you just have to do your ritual or tell your story. And when it's all over, we'll define a clue for the Morning Tower as well. Role play.
Nizelle has brought with her because she told you all that she needed to grab something as she went back to the island. And she has brought with her a few pieces of driftwood. So she is at one corner of the boat and she is setting them up. There's like a couple that are sort of just like pieces of like flat, like almost kind of shield-like bark, and then there's one that's long and twisted and maybe something that looks a bit like a mouth. And she sets them up so that the it looks a little like a bird of some kind, like something in the middle and some wings on the side. Um, and then she runs her hands along it until it splinters her.
This is, and Shelf will say it, this is a willing process. Nothing compels you to do this.
I take some of this wood and I give it some of myself, and then it sees what I cannot. She'll prick her finger and dot where the bird's eyes would be with just a drop of blood.
Hmm. Ah, like writing, like an etching. I see. And Shelf will sort of return to where he is sitting in the boat. He has taken the bookshelf off once again, and has taken one of the tomes out, and is well, actually taken a couple of the books out, and is sort of referencing one and like scrawling some words in the other with a quill, amending the annals as he is. Do you have a written history of your practices, then? Or is it just left to the trees and the driftwood?
Giselle is immediately suspicious of these informations. Like, why do you want to know my stories? And sort of like shuffles her relics behind the bird. Like, was he looking at Harrow? Did he recognize this? Like, what is this question? Um, no, certainly not anything that came with me when I came here.
Well, then it is remembered in the trees, and they are excellent scholars.
Indeed, they are. Nizelle will curl up beneath the bird to rest. She's not especially talkative.
Shelf
Gavin,
just
smoke.
continues to scribble in his annals.
Gavin, I wonder if you might illuminate our surroundings a bit more.
Certainly. And I think Gavin kind of holds up the burning branch and sort of does this, like trying to protect a little flame with your hand as if you're trying to get your lighter to work in bad weather. And he almost like seems to whisper something to it, and then the light burns a little brighter. I would not take you for someone who admires the light, although I suppose shadows do seem to be darker in them.
We cannot have shadows without light. If I may. And I'm going to reach out, Old Smoke's going to reach out, with your permission, and just position you perfectly so he can step into a shadow and disappear.
I think there's a moment of silence, and then Gavin just laughs, delighted. Like a small child being shown a party trick. Like you picked like a coin from behind his ear, like that kind of like, oh my goodness, that's so cool. You can do that.
Nizelle is also watching this and would like to throw something at the space that he disappeared into to see if he's still there.
I mean, are you in some sense, or are you like in a different place?
My camp ritual is become one with shadows. And I think
Yeah.
it's really sort of going to that secret safe place
Yeah.
that protected me from the dimning.
Yeah.
Robed and masked by space itself. Fascinating. Is it possible that any other members of your order may have lived the age as you did and be waiting for our triumphant return?
From the shadows, I think you hear, and perhaps all around you in every shadow, a sort of echoing. Sadly, I am the only one of my order that remains.
That's true of all of you, isn't it?
Far from it.
All of us. Is it not true of you, Nizelle?
It is.
Then at least in that sense, you are part of us.
Indeed.
Let's check in on conditions. Everyone seems like everyone has done their ritual. Do you want to make the case for clearing a condition or unmarking an aspect?
I think to add a little bit of narration, I think like as I whispered and the candles burn brighter, I think some of that wax with my face so close to it will like fall on those scratches. And it's kind of like putting like, like putty in walls. Like it's just the little indentations of where the scratches would be are just glossed over, just perfectly mended.
Nice. Good. Clear that condition. Anybody else?
I will not clear a condition, but I think I do want to unmark an aspect, which is on Harrow, the murder catcher can only be satisfied if the whole world hangs. I think the conversation about being sort of the remnants, the last ones remaining, I
Oh,
think
sure.
is...
Yeah, it's good. Harold loves that.
I So the on the character keeper, I see you already mentioned it, Alina, but yeah, my relics seem to have disappeared. But for unmarking, I still remember what aspects I had marked. So I think I would want to unmark burdened not by guilt but by identity. The others are the last of their order, whereas I'm burdened by having everyone with me.
Old Smoke, you're going to clear you don't have any conditions. You're going to clear a unmarked aspect.
I am. I think my traveling cloak, the matte coating that drinks light, seems appropriate.
Replenished in the shadows, right? Yeah, it's good. Fantastic. The last part of this move is that you get to also define a clue. Now, this is a clue that will be for the Morning Tower question. How do we open the Morning Tower? This can be a clue that maybe just it's something that occurs to you in the conversation. Maybe it's something that you see on the water or on the boatman or in the boat itself. It's pretty wide open in terms of where the clue comes from, but we can have a little chat real quick about what we think it might be.
I like the idea that either Old Smoke found something when like slipping in the shadows, or that when Gavin like illuminated the space around us, maybe like we briefly saw something that was then immediately covered up by fog. Or maybe even like the fog everlasting or something is the clue itself, like the the stubbornness of hiding, like there's something actively trying to hide something
There's
here.
something about the fog. That's pretty.
Yeah.
I think that's a good clue because
That's
it
great.
connects up to elegy really well, right?
Mhm.
Whoever wants to can editorialize it however they want in the character keeper, but I like that. Something to do with the fog. Yeah, that's great. This quiet, still water journey eventually comes to an end. The fog clears entirely, and you see ahead of you it's daylight, and you see trees, a vast forest awaiting you on the shore. We're going to take a 5-minute break, and when we come back, we will arrive at the Great Forest. The Great Forest. The Great Forest, called Khaldun in the language of the Fae, and the Emerald Expanse by its current lord, is one of the lands remaining. It is a vast temperate forest, the size of a large kingdom, with many deep unexplored parts. Small fiefdoms were located on its outer edge during the time of the Old Fire, and remnants of those places can still be found there. The true beating heart of the Great Forest, however, were the large Fae settlements, most now fallen to ruin and rot, and one, the great Fae city of Liralen, having disappeared entirely. The Great Forest is now a place of fell beasts, and is ruled by an ancient dragon, Noxiliax, the Emerald Nightmare, a glimmering winged horror that is rarely seen in the flesh, but felt in every tree and trail, and represented on the ground by its numerous human followers. You have been traveling in the Great Forest for a time, trying to remember what you recall of it, maybe with ear to the ground, to learn more about Noxiliax, about the lords of the lands remaining, about whatever other mysteries might be around that will help you remember more of who you were and how you need to, how you can approach the old capital. A struggle. The first movement. As you work your way deeper into the dark heart of the forest, the knotted trees suddenly thin, opening out into a large clearing. Sunlight tries to force its way through the patchy canopy, catching the edges of a pair of boots, toes pointing motionless towards the sky. As you approach, you see a pair of legs, buckled and broken, cresting the lip of a shallow hole filled with stagnant groundwater. Beneath the surface, the crumpled form of what was probably some poor forager, crushed into a muddy pulp of earth and bone. You notice more shallow pools in 2 rows, leading off through a large gap in the trees, splintered and broken. The realization comes too late that these are giant cloven hoof prints, each twice as long as a man is high. The water gathered around the forager begins to ripple in time with the boom, boom, boom of quickening tremors, getting closer and closer. The trees sway and snap, timber crashing to the ground. A huge creature comes lumbering into the glade. You have stumbled into the path of Old Gore the Unkillable, a legendary ancient beast relentlessly hunted since the time before the Old Fire. It takes the form of an elder boar, standing so impossibly tall the spines that run along its back break through the tree line above. Its massive head is ridged with a crest of bone that ends at the wide, slobbering snout, lined with jagged tusks capable of rending even the thickest of armor plates. Let's paint the scene. As the hulking mass of Old Gore comes into full view, what horrifying feature do you notice that is incongruous to that of a boar-like animal?
I think it has a myriad of insect-like eyes.
It has frilled flaps at the sides of its head that sprout open when it roars.
Its tail ends not in a tuft of fur, but in jagged spikes that look to be made of rock.
And I think, hmm, I think the mouth, even though it has tusks, it has like a a snake-like tongue flitting between the lips.
To all of you, Old Gore's apparently many milky white eyes narrow as it spots you. It lets out a deep bellow, its phalanges flailing as it scrapes a hoof through the mud. As it readies a charge, it rears back, then careens toward you with thunderous, earth-shaking speed. Each of you, please describe how you attempt to avoid or resist the charge of Old Gore the Unkillable, and then roll the dark move. We'll start with Nizel.
As you might imagine, she is running. She's looking for with a trained eye that, is used to nature, she is looking for something that is sturdy enough that she could get beneath it, and not be crushed. I'm checking to see if any of my aspects can help me here, but I don't. Oh, my gravedigger's nail. When I hold it in my hand, lets me sense hollow spaces, buried things, or the nearness of graves.
So you're going to find a hole to hide in?
Yes. Yes, I am. Well, I mean, I hope. We'll see how it goes.
I love it. What are you afraid is going to happen if you fail?
That the shelter that I pick is not going to be sufficiently strong, and I will be crushed inside of it.
Boy, how's it worse than that? I don't know. That feels pretty bad. Let's go ahead and roll with, I think it's going to be reason, actually, for quick thinking.
Okay.
And if you mark that nail, that aspect, you get to take advantage as well.
Indeed. Okay, so I have a +1 on reason, and the advantage was very helpful. It's a 7.
Okay, we'll come back to this. Let's go to Gavrin, the Everlit. How are you going to try to avoid the charge or survive it?
I think I plant the burning branch and this flash of like bonfire, like a flash fire goes off, like hoping to blind the beast just for a second so that it like veers off course. Because I think that I'm just like not like I'm partially wax. I'm not very fast. So I'm just trying to sort of distract it from not running over me.
Are you marking an aspect here?
No, I don't think
Okay.
so.
This is going to be, I think it's quick thinking again. I think it's reason, actually. Yeah.
Okay.
Let me take a look at your conditions. You've got so many. Nah, none of them apply here, though. Go ahead.
My reason is, what is my reason? That's a 7 total.
Okay, so we have another 7 on the table from Gavrin. Go ahead, Shelf.
Among my many relics and items and training, I have no greater faith in anything than my upper body strength. So I will attempt to catch the tusks of the boar so that it may push me, but I will not crumple under its charge.
Nice. So you're marking an aspect here.
I think I am. I think I am actually marking the vow plate, the every plate engraved on the inside with the oaths of the Nameless Legion. I will not fall. I will not
Oh, that's
falter.
one of your vows. Okay, good.
Right.
I like it. Okay, roll with. I think it's gonna be. You got a good roll here. I think it's vitality and advantage.
That is a. That's a total of 12.
Nice. Fantastic. And let's go to Old Smoke. How do you avoid or endure the charge?
Old Smoke recites his mantra of the mouse in the tower and spins with a dancer's grace and fluidity of water, almost making all of his diaphanous shrouds spin about so he's harder to hit. And I will use slip past its paws as softly as dust.
Nice.
Getting
Roll with
advantage.
advantage. And this is going to be with. I think it's actually. It's probably. I think it's probably vitality again. Yeah. For dexterity.
11.
Nice. All right. Let's get to the narration. Nizelle, I think the complication for you is going to be that you are going to find the hole. It's just a very shallow one. It's basically enough to just kind of get underneath its charge, but you're still kind of exposed. How does the nail lead you there, though?
Well, it says when I press it into my palm, it lets me sense hollow spaces. And so I think there's like a kind of a kinship between this hollow below the fallen tree and a grave. And it's used to the presence of graves. And so it kind of uh lights it up for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. You scramble, and we can still see your legs and stuff like kind of scrambling in the hole, and this massive towering boar just kind of, I don't even know if it saw you, but you can just kind of hear it, like you're almost covered in shadows. Its enormous form like crashes through the tree line, right? Gavin the Everlit, you also got a mid result. I think the complication for you is going to be, I think, describe to me again how you were going to try to avoid it.
So basically, blinded so that it like sees this
Oh,
flash of light and it like veers off course a little bit.
oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, I like that. I think basically, I think you just take like a little glancing blow, so I'm going to give you like a bruised shoulder. But otherwise, you are safe. You can go ahead and describe it, though.
Yeah, I think Gavin almost in a reflex, not even really thinking about it. I think there's this instinct of it is still an animal. Animals fear fire, hopefully. And that's sort of all Gavin's got. He's not really a fighter. So he plants the burning branch and it goes off in this flash fire. And I think it does startle the boar, but it's just so gigantic and there's not enough space for it to veer, of course. So even though it like kind of panics a little bit, like I think the sheer like weight and speed with which it does that Gavin didn't really like think about is that it's still this massive thing that now needs to move away. And I think it is because of that, like he gets, I think like um clipped by a tusk and I think he just goes like flying through. I think maybe we see him sort of like skid as like Shelv is grabbing the tusks just going past in the background.
Fantastic. Old Smoke, give me your scene.
Old Smoke does his mantra, spins like a dancer, and I think the boar literally bears down on him, but he's not in amongst the shrouds the boar bears down on. He is feet away from that shadowed aspect of his fluid-like movement. If anyone wasn't buried in the ground or running away, they would be able to watch with awe of the artistry of the Mouse in the Tower mantra.
And Shelf.
Uh, Shelf does not know the mouse of the tower mantra, but he is in awe of how Old Smoke moves. But Shelf plants himself, quickly throws the bookshelf to one side, braces one leg forward, the other leg back, and as Old Gores is sort of like veered in his direction by Gavrin's guiding light, he braces, catches the tusks in his arms. Dirt flies up in the wake as he is sort of like propelled back and into one of the heavy trees of the great forest that I would like to imagine buckles and falls. And as it tumbles down, we see that Shelf is still standing. Unkillable, but not unstoppable.
I owe you a bonus because you got a 12, and I'll tell you what the bonus is here in a moment. I have an idea. But let's keep going with the second movement. In the ensuing chaos, you're all split up in your different places. The rampaging titan stamps and brays. The forest floor is churned into quagmire. Defending its territory, Old Gore rounds on what it considers the weakest Ember. I direct the following to the Ember who rolled lowest in the first movement, or the Ember with the lowest vitality in the case of a tie, or whoever I wish in the case of another tie. And that is the case between Gavin and Nizelle. Who of you does Old Gore perceive to be the weakest? It is in fact Nizelle of the Red Canopy, exposed as she is halfway through a hole. As your bonus, Shelf, you can redirect this to you.
I absolutely will. Get back here!
You redirect it to you, and so you will take the condition, the hunter hunted. Go ahead and take that condition, Shelf. And now let's paint the scene, everyone. Old Gore's ancient body is scarred and mutilated. What at first look like quills or bones protruding through its shaggy matted fur are actually an armory's worth of weapons, each left lodged in this giant beast's body by some doomed hunter of old, intoxicated by hubris. Describe one such weapon and how its wielder met their brutal end, trying to bring Old Gore down. Take a moment to think of it, whoever wants to go first.
Are we defining one each or just one in total?
One each.
I think still stuck in his hide is a burning branch. It still burns, but the hide is not, it is not enough to actually catch flame. It's just a helpless, pathetic little flickering of flame that cannot be put out by wind or by the brutality of this beast, but that is ultimately completely useless against it. I think there was a candle bearer called Baron the Soot Touched. And I think Baron, maybe an Ember even, who thought that it was his duty to protect and to see what has not been seen. And the death of such a creature has certainly never been seen. But I think he stood alone, and this light, this fire, although mighty, it is nothing against a beast like this. It was a short fight, a brutal one, and one that old Gore doesn't even recall.
There's a glaive buried in his side. The battlement, the heraldry that's wrapped around it is too muddied now to tell what it is. But if you could see it, it's the crest of a kingdom that no longer stands. The king had offered his daughter's hand to anyone who could kill Old Gore. Sir Valen is the only one who came close enough to leave a mark, but ultimately he was unsuccessful. The king's daughter died alone, and the kingdom fell to ruin.
Forgive me, remind me the name of the legendary Emerald Dragon whose realm this is.
Noxiliax.
Noxiliax, thank you. I think Old Smoke sees the long-storied, legendary Heron spear carried by the Fey Prince Regent, Radmanthius, who was storied to have the only weapon that could bring down Noxiliax. And there I see its shaft in ebony and bone, as beautiful as it was described in the epic sagas, and I crave it.
We can't hear you, Alexander.
There is. Imagine okay. There is a javelin poking not in but out of the beast, perhaps thrust up from within its stomach by some unlucky traveler.
The third movement. Old Gore continues to rage. Sunlight floods into the clearing as trees fall. To the Ember who is the hunter hunted. Old Gore barely misses you with its tusks, then drives you into the mud with its snout, before lifting you into the air as it snorts and stamps and tries to shake you off. As you cling on, you snatch a glance into this ancient animal's eyes. You see power, poison, and pain. What you at first thought was a bony growth beneath its many eyes appears to be the head of a huge stone axe buried in its skull. How can you tell this wound is causing Old Gore unimaginable suffering? And then describe how you attempt to cling on and roll the dark move.
Hmm. The I think the way it shows me Old Gore's pain is that whenever Old Gore snaps its maw and tries to catch me between its teeth or gore me on these massive tusks, that every time it moves its head a little too wildly, that axe kind of like shifts from one side, kind of like there's it's not fully just driven in there. It's sort of shifting from one side to the other, just a centimeter, but enough to cause excruciating pain. And Shelf holds on as he does. I imagine that his weight actually begins to increase. It feels not like Old Gore's is holding up one man, but a platoon, a company is holding on to the ends of his tusks.
Fantastic. This is going to be with vitality. What are you afraid is going to happen if you fail?
If I fail, I suppose in this case I fear that Shelf that I will be my armor will be pierced through by one of these tusks, and that tusk will probably reach my heart.
How do I make it worse? It then shakes its head and slings you off, and everyone gets a little bit of your blood in their mouths or something. I don't know. It's something really horrible. So let's get to it. This is going to be with vitality. You are going to be at disadvantage because of the hunter hunted. Mm-hmm. Are you marking any aspects to counter that?
Burdened not by guilt, but by identity.
Perfect. So it's going to be 2d6 plus vitality. Pretty good roll for you. And obviously, if you end up needing help at the end, you can take help at the end as well.
Okay. Jeez. That is a 10.
Okay. Go ahead for now. Go ahead and describe. Just give me a little glimpse of how you're holding on.
Yeah. So Old Gore's does wrench Shelf around, and even picks up this titan of a man, and wails as the axe kind of like shifts in its skull. But as it is trying to lift him up further, trying to spear him, gore him on those tusks, it suddenly its legs kind of buckle, and it stumbles back to the ground as Shelf lands with a heavy smash into the earth that upturns dirt and rock.
The rest of you, please describe how you use Old Gore's focus on Shelf to turn the tide and weaken the beast.
I think in this colossal upturning of rocks and everything, it's also disrupted my hiding place, and so I'm in the need of a new place to be anyway. So I will run past Old Gore, and as I'm doing that, take one of those weapons that are sticking out of him and jam it sort of in more.
Assuming that we all saw that axe, I think Gavin yells at Old Smoke, get the axe! And then I think there's like, I will reach out Burning Branch and that other Burning Branch from Baron stuck in there. It starts to burn. And again, it can't catch fire on its hide, but it does produce like just an insane amount of smoke as all around the boar there's this thick dark smoke is starting to spread around, its eyes starting to tear at this fire, this air filled with ash and dust and smoke, hopefully giving Old Smoke an opportunity.
I like that. Old Smoke will indeed focus on the axe and take the advantage of the smoke to cover his passage. I'm thinking I won't use my mantra to get an advantage on the roll, but I may use it for a reroll.
There's no roll. You just describe.
Oh, just describe. Then I will remove the axe with all of my might, opening up what is clearly not just an infected wound, but something that penetrates through the bone and hide. And I will, with again all of my might, slam the axe back down inside the same wound, as deep as I can drive it to the hilt.
Well, let's just pick right up with the fourth movement. Old Gore labors and lists, teetering, gravely wounded, still incredibly dangerous. Let's paint the scene. How can we tell Old Gore knows it is about to finally meet its end?
I think it lifts its gigantic head. The frills go out. All of the insect eyes kind of open and blink in the same time. And it bellows, but not the way that it did at the start, angry and hurting and vengeful. It bellows now with the sorrow of 1,000 wounds as it just echoes and spreads over the forest. And I think, we get that overhead shot of the forest as the howl sounds out and all manner of birds in shock fly up, leaving this place.
And I think all of its eyes singularly focus on Shelf.
I would add to that to say that its eyes focus on Shelf, but more specifically that its eyes reflect the visage of the nameless legion surrounding Shelf, their arms upon him, helping him stand back, helping him still stand after tussling with the titanic beast.
It stumbles. One leg goes down, but then it tenses, prepared to make its last stand, prepared to use all of its strength for this last act.
To the Ember who rolled highest in the first movement, and if that roll was a 10 plus, that's you, Shelf. Describe how you use the stone axe head to end Old Gore's torment. Doing so will end this creature's eternal suffering and end the struggle. Describe how its physical form is released from existence.
The axe head. Is Old Smoke still holding onto the axe or is the axe back embedded?
Embedded to the hilt.
Okay. Then Shelf will he will step forwards. He will reach in, take hold, rip out the axe, and as the life is fading from old Gore's, Shelf will take the axe and will inscribe upon it Old Gore's the Unkillable, and will read the name aloud and release the beast from its burden.
The struggle is concluded. You each get a reward. First, Shelf, your reward is you take the further condition merciful. You can act in an unmerciful way at any time to clear the condition and get an automatic 12 plus on associated roll. And now everyone, including Shelf, you get to claim any of the weapons that was described in this narration, whether it be the axe or whether it be one of the ones you described earlier. You have to write it with two aspects. One aspect that describes what it is, and one aspect that describes how it is broken or flawed. And we can brainstorm here as far as that goes.
I have a further question.
Mm-hmm.
So my wax hasn't run out yet, but when it does, I need to
Render fat of a monster.
yeah, of a magical creature, and I
Yeah.
was wondering if this counts and if I can like sort of have the wax or like clear either the one box that I already have marked or clear it for later.
We'll review the move in a moment.
Okay.
We'll sort out the weapon thing
Yeah.
for now. So yeah, who has a weapon they want to claim?
I'd like to claim the Heron Spear legend to be the slayer for the Emerald Dragon.
I would write that as an aspect, the Slayer of the Emerald Dragon. But Alina, why don't you give it a flaw?
It was made of bone and obsidian.
Ebony.
Correct.
Ebony.
Ebony, thank you. It has a jagged crack running through the ebony and appears that it would shatter upon first use.
So write it that way with two aspects. Gavin, what are you going to take?
I mean, there was a burning branch, but I actually think it's more interesting if somebody else takes that, either as a mockery or whatever.
It's like bent.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I think we have to. I think it's like bent. I think that's the flaw, right? Because it's an iron. It's just a big iron candelabra. Otherwise, unless you have a thought on the flaw, Jazzy.
Yeah, I was wondering if there's like something wrong with the candles. Like there's still an aspect like flickering but not burning or something like that.
The candlelight's dying. Yeah.
Yeah, like having dying candlelight. Yeah.
It's pretty good. Intriguing. Well, then what are you going to take?
What am I gonna take? What was left? The glaive and
then the thing that what was the one that was like the king's daughter or something? What was that one?
I think that was a glaive,
That was the
right?
glaive, yeah.
That was the glaive. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
What, Alexander, which was yours? That's the one we're missing.
It was just a spear that had been just stabbed
Oh, that
from
little javelin.
inside
Yeah.
the creature.
Yeah.
Yeah, a javelin that had been stabbed from inside the creature rather than outside.
I have an idea for the flaw if anybody takes that one.
Remind me the name of the dragon again, Jason.
I'll type it for you.
I'll take the glaive. I think there's something very poetic about the suicide mission thing.
What's the
I'm a
flaw,
sucker
Alina?
for a good night. What is the flaw?
If anybody has any thoughts on the flaw. I'm gonna say the flaw is it remembers its failure.
Yeah, I was thinking that
Yeah.
too. Like it carries a broken promise
Yeah.
or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Well then, Alexander, what are you gonna take?
I mean, it would feel weird to not take the stone axe
You gotta
that
take
I
the axe,
inscribed his
right?
name in.
Yeah, yeah, I think
Yeah.
you do. I think you do.
Uh,
That's enough. I just the axe and the fact that it's an axe and then it has the name inscribed in it, I think is plenty is enough for the aspects. Fantastic. That is your struggle complete. Let's talk about this move here. Gavin the Everlit. All right. To replenish your wax, you must render the fat of a magical creature. When you take a few hours to do so, you can certainly do that now. You unmark all wax and work with the keeper to define a new complication that might arise because of the source of the wax and write it on a blank line under the complications above. So you get to clear that wax mark. What do we think using candle wax from old gore's fat? What problems might that bring?
Hmm. The one that we already have is unwanted attention. I wonder if there's something about like this anger or this pain that is like embedded in the flesh, right? Like it
Oh,
there's like a certain suffering in this creature that's been there for so long that even though like the soul is released, like it's still
I'm gonna I'm gonna go kind of hard on this and say um the candle causes anyone who the candle causes anyone who smells it to be racked with old gore's pain.
love that.
Indeed. It's nightfall by the time you all head out again. You travel through the great forest for a few more days, and eventually a mystery in the great forest reveals itself to you. We don't dwell on how you come by this information. Maybe one of you remembers it. Maybe you're telling stories to each other around the campfire and it occurs to you. Who knows? Maybe the trees whisper it to Nizelle. But this mystery is called the Moldering Court. You have heard whispers of a place where flowers once grew to overflowing abundance, where the fae danced beneath lantern-lit bowers and mortal poets wept to see such beauty. They called it the Rose Court, a garden realm ruled by Lady Kenduin, a sovereign of grace, wit, and wonder whose footsteps created trails of sweet blossoms. That was before the dimning, before the roses blackened and split under the first touch of bloom rot, before the garden sank into a choking mire of stagnant water and rotting petals, before Lady Kenduin became the thing now known as the putrescent queen. The stories say she sits at the swamp's heart, attended by the diseased remains of her court. They say her beauty withered to madness, her laughter curdled to a wet, rasping croon. She is too powerful to approach directly, too broken to reason with, and too rooted in sorrow to leave her throne of thorns and muck. Yet there is one tale, old, uncertain, half forgotten, that may offer a path. When the dimning came, Kenduin did not fall to shadow, she fell to grief. She lost the one she loved, and in that loss her heart unraveled. If the tale is true, then to reach her, To stand close enough to survive her terrible power, you must uncover the truth of that lost love. You must learn who they were, what they look like, their story, and then wear it like a mask to the heart of the swamp. And so you have the following question and opportunity. The question is, what is the nature and story of Lady Kendwin's lost love? It's a complexity 8. The opportunity is to resolve the mystery by seeking the heart of the swamp and immediately engaging in a struggle against the putrescent queen. The Moldering Court. But we have to take a journey to get to the Moldering Court. So we're going to do another journey, which means you're going to do another make camp. So as we go on break, think about your rituals, maybe a pleasant story you want to tell about the past, something to get a condition cleared or an aspect unmarked, and we'll come back and do that. We'll take 5. Your journey to the Moldering Court takes you to the ruins of Castle Bregan. You take shelter in the ruins of a small castle. In the lands remaining, a partially crumbled wall is safer than no walls at all. This castle belonged to Lord Bregan, a ruler from the time of the Old Fire, who was known to be fair and generous to his people. This kindness made him an attractive target for the Malgaunt, hateful creatures who sided with the Dimning at the end of all things. So we have 4 prompts here, and this is now an active journey. You can travel through the ruins of Castle Bregan 4 different times. And for this first one, the walls are crumbling, the stone is scorched, and the timbers groan in the wind. And yet, this is a safe place. Each of you tell me, what do we see that shows how even in its dilapidated state, Castle Bregan is defensible?
I'm going to say portcullis and gates in operating order, almost as if they have been tended to.
The arrow slits are not covered over by moss or vines. The firing positions are still usable.
It's situated on enough of an incline that if you were to climb to the top of it, you could see still above the treetops for miles around.
I think we see Gavin walk around the ruins and the remains, and he's maybe with Shelves or Old Smoke's help hauling up these braziers that hold still like or can be put in like some wood, some embers. And when he lights them, I think we see that they're like arranged in a pattern that was clearly like some sort of a ritualistic pattern to keep not only the physical dangers, but the metaphysical ones out as well.
You have a fire lit. You can make camp. I'll remind you that if you tell a pleasant story about the past, or if you do your ritual, you can clear an appropriate condition or unmark an aspect, and together we'll define a clue. The clue can be for the upcoming Moldering Court mystery, or it can be something to help you unlock the Morning Tower. But as before, the scene is yours.
Nizelle is setting up her bed of like moss and various things that she's going to sleep on outside of the ritual area, outside of the protection of the light.
I think Gavin will approach you, Nizelle, and gesture at the burning branch that you took. with his own and say, "May I?" as he gestures as if to light the candles on it.
You can try. I don't think it's got the fire anymore.
Some fire will always remain on a branch like this. And I think maybe it does a little. It's not enough to probably like change the aspect that it's a dying flame, right? But I think still Gavin smiles and says, "It's the beauty of fire, you know. It is a shared thing."
Hmm. Indeed. That hasn't been my experience of it. Except there was a bonfire that used to happen at these festivals. My village would have festivals in the spring, and there would be a bonfire there. We sold jars of flavored honey.
We went round to villages, to castles like this, and we'd light bonfires there. I could never stay for long. My duty is to travel and bring light to the many, not stay, but it was always nice, just for a moment. Everyone standing around, shadows dancing on faces, and we all felt the same warmth.
Hmm. I'd forgotten that.
You needn't stay here so far away from the fire. Perhaps you might remember.
Now I have my guttering candlelight. I think I'll be just
Mm.
fine.
Indeed. To be careful, these flames are known to show things that sometimes even the one who wields the flame wishes was left unseen. Not a threat, a gentle warning.
Taken as intended.
I think Gavin will smile and leave Nizelle to it unless there's more she wants to say.
I think Shelf, well, unless you have a different idea, Ken, I think Shelf would be asking Old Smoke about his initiation rites.
It is a crime to reveal the secrets of the Order. But pick up that branch there and give us some light. I have something that I believe you will wish to see. It has been a century since I've been to the castle, but I think I recall the heraldic markings of the Nameless Legion on the archway in here. Follow me.
Very well. If it is a branch the man needs, then a branch he shall have.
Are there markings on the heraldry of the Nameless Legion? Or how do we perceive this, Shelf?
I don't know. Smoke wouldn't know. So Smoke just knows the heraldry.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm putting it on Shelf here. I want to know. Yeah.
The way to know is that all markings that were previously there, it is specifically that there have to have been markings there, but they have been scratched off. So there are dents and signs in the stone that are irregular, would be regular in the sense of like there's a regular way of scratching off the names. That's recognizable.
So I think Old Smoke would take you to the arch and direct you to where he recalls seeing the heraldic symbols and sort of is puzzled by what you might make of them.
Yes. Yes. I think that an old rite was performed in a place like this. I partook in it. It was an honor. Oh. Oh. He sort of winces for a moment, seeming to try and remember, and he holds his head in a particular spot through the helmet and says, "It was much like that beast we just encountered. A stone would be taken, held aloft above the disciple, and brought down upon the skull. The white strike is what we called it. It, yes, the whiting strike. After that, a true chosen, they would not remember their name. They would not remember much, and so would be able to relearn the precepts and the disciplines from scratch."
I understand this ritual, this rite of passage. We had similar rites in the Order. Perhaps we are not so different after all.
I shall go back to look through my books, and that is, unless there's something else, that's maybe where we end that scene. As Shelf goes to look through the annals, kind of looking to see, is there a connection point between our orders?
Fantastic. Let's check in on the move. Nizelle, Gavrin, do you think you cleared conditions or otherwise, or unmarked aspects?
I have two conditions that can only be cleared in very specific ways, but I think I cleared the aspect of the fact that the burning branch flames cannot be extinguished.
Okay, good. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Nizelle,
I don't think I cleared either of my aspects.
do you want to keep working on it? I mean, do you want more scenes?
I'm
Okay.
good. Yeah.
Shelf and Old Smoke, do you want to make the case for clearing a condition or aspect?
I'd like to recover one of the aspects from my mantra, the mouse in the tower, but I don't know. I'm thinking slip past its paws as softly as dust, just that quiet sort of walk through the ancient deserted
I like it.
castle.
I think it's okay. Yeah. What is your ritual? What's your ritual called?
My ritual is become one with shadows, which kind of
I
takes
think
me
it
away.
works. I think it works. I think it works. I think it's good.
I
Shelf.
think I'll unmark an aspect of it. So an aspect on the banner, let 1,000 knights refuse to march beneath any emblem. We were sort of describing the
Got it. Yeah.
lack of heraldic
Yeah.
marks. Yeah.
I think it works perfectly, actually. You all get to define a clue. This can be a clue related to Lady Kendwin's lost love, or it can be a clue related to unsealing the Morning Tower. Does anyone have any thoughts?
I think maybe in the debris we find a handkerchief embroidered with blue songbirds, and it's like
Nice.
completely untouched. Like it's beautiful, unblemished, even though it was lying in the dirt for probably ages.
I was going to suggest that maybe one of the names wasn't erased. Maybe that is the lost love.
Oh, interesting. Intriguing. Any thoughts, Alexander or Alina?
Mm. I mean, I am interested in that sort of, if, yeah, somewhere on this keep, somewhere in this keep, a mark has not been shorn off, either, because it was passed over or because of some insubordination.
I'm going to vote for the handkerchief only because we have so much more story to tell about Castle Bragan. And I bet some of these, like, other things related to the castle might be useful in the future. Alina, do you have any other thoughts?
I like the handkerchief, and this is not necessarily part of the clue, but I might suggest that there's maybe a connection with the festival that Nizelle is remembering, that there was like some sort of like blue bird symbology that went along with that. And so it
That's
doesn't
why
have to be part of the clue.
well, that
I
could
just
be
like it as a character
that could be
thing.
why it like stuck out to you, right? Like
Yeah.
why you're like, oh,
It
that
smells of honey.
yeah. That's why it like
Yeah, or
feels like a sign,
it could have been like a tradition that
Mm.
like at a festival you gave like a handkerchief to your crush or like
Right,
like
right.
something like
Something
that.
that
Like very
ties
like
back.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking like very like anime where it's like you give chocolates to and it's like always on like these festival days and it's like a whole thing.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
I assume that's
Makes a
for
lot
the
of sense.
Moldering Court.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Somebody can note that. That's where we're going to end. But before we go to the end of session, I want to tell you that elsewhere in the Great Forest, far from your path, a procession moves beneath the canopy. A dozen knights advance in silence, their armor a pale, milky green, scale mail that catches the light like wet leaves. They carry a litter between them, borne on ashwood poles wrapped in ivy. Upon it lies a small beast's body. It is unmistakably draconic and unmistakably wrong. Its wings are half-formed, the membranes thin and torn like unfinished parchment. One horn never fully grew. Its scales are soft in places, translucent in others, as if they never learned how to harden. A faint green sheen still clings to it, like light dying behind fogged glass. This is no slain wormling. This is a stillbirth. The knights reach a shallow cave in a rocky rise, its mouth carved with ancient sigils of the Fae and newer marks scratched crudely over them. Spirals, talons, crude draconic eyes. They set the litter down and kneel. With ritual care, they draw curved knives and begin to work. The act is reverent, almost tender. Scales are peeled away intact, cleaned, and wrapped in linen. None are wasted. None are taken without a murmured prayer. When the skinning is done, the knights place the scales into lacquered chests marked with the sigil of the Emerald Nightmare. They carry the body into the cave and lay it in a stone cradle hollowed generations ago. One knight pours a vial of green ichor over the corpse. Another lights a censer of crushed leaves and resin. They seal the cave with a slab of stone etched with a single phrase in draconic script: return to the root. As the last night rises, a tremor passes through the forest. Leaves shiver, birds scatter. Somewhere beyond knowing and sight, something vast and ancient shifts in its sleep. Noxiliax has felt the loss. To reach the throne of the old king, the Embers will need the key to the old capital held by Noxiliax, the Emerald Nightmare, Lord of the Great Forest. The Embers don't yet know it, but we do. Noxiliax has used powerful magic to hide the great Fey city of Lirilen, now its lair, and the Embers will have to locate Lirilen in order to confront the great dragon. As players, we have our own question to answer. How can the spell that hides Lirilen be lifted? It is a complexity 8. The Embers will immediately confront Noxiliax once we've answered it. And now the end of session. Let's answer these end of session questions. I'm not sure how many we would have gotten done in this kind of transitional session, but we'll see. Starting with Nizelle. So we're not getting the first two because you got credit for resolving a mystery last time. Well, maybe you got Cinder. Did you roll Cinder today by chance?
No, that was last session.
Yeah. Did you demonstrate reverence for root, stone, or soil over law, crown, or creed?
I'm not sure I got there today.
Did you give cold comfort to the suffering?
Yes, Ben on the hill.
Indeed. Take your XP. Gavin the Everlit. Did you roll a Cinder?
I didn't.
Did you risk yourself to bring hope or illumination into a dark place?
Does the old fire narration count?
Oh, like in flashback? Yeah, it counts. Yeah, flashback always
Okay.
counts. Yeah.
Then yeah, that was the whole ritual. That
Yeah.
was the whole point of the ritual.
In fact, probably in flashback, you probably get credit for yours, Nizelle. Maybe like that first one.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
yeah.
Back to Gavin. Did you share your fire with another or take theirs from them?
Yes, I shared with Nizelle.
Shelf. I don't think you rolled with Cinder either.
Nope.
Did you name another enemy, ally, or shade, and in doing so alter their fate?
I named Gores the Unkillable.
You did. Did your pride reveal itself beneath the mask of humility?
I think there are a few moments. I'm not sure if they counted. I guess the most recent one was like the. I mean, so Shelf was describing this right to basically that the Legion basically brain themselves. They basically hit themselves in the head with a rock to forget information.
I think you were into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
like it's honorable. It's an honorable right to just get amnesia.
Yeah. No, I think it fits. It definitely fits with the weird the weird, strange, contradictory vibes of this order. I'm into it. Yeah. Old Smoke. Did you roll a Cinder, Old Smoke? I don't think you did. Yeah. Did you demonstrate your amazing physical talents to someone else's wonder and astonishment? Sure, we'll say you did. We'll say someone was.
I think Shelf actually remarked on.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, very good. Did you relate a situation to the story of the mouse in the tower?
I did.
You did. Yeah. Fantastic. All right, everybody, mark your XP that you're entitled to, and we could just go to Stars and Wishes, I guess. But I'm also kind of interested in just hearing how the playtest went in general. I have my own thoughts on the playtest. But this was a great session. I'm glad we got to do Journey. I'm glad we got to do Make Camp. I'm glad we got to see a kind of a different style of struggle. That was really fun. So that was all. I was really happy with that. The one thing we haven't done yet is a Shrine of Remembrance, but I know that's going to work fine, so I'm not worried about it. Obviously, all the Morning Tower is still to be shown, but I'm feeling like really good about the structures. I'm not worried about the play structures. I think they're fine. The only thing that I'm going to change from this probably is I do have a few of these Ember moves I want to rework, particularly on the Nameless. But I've talked about that already with you guys privately. There's a few things. The big thing I'm gonna change while I have time. It's not even a change. It's an addition. Is I want to increase the survivability of these characters just a little bit, because when you're on the mystery, it's pretty dangerous, right? Like it's really dangerous, and so I think these characters are a lot more danger than other CFB characters, and so I need to I've been kind of brainstorming some ways to kind of increase overall campaign survivability, not like moment to moment survivability, but like lasting long enough to finish campaign arcs, right? So that's something I have to look at, but overall I'm really happy with it, and I'm really happy you all joined me. So.
So I know we're not doing like a proper Stars and Wishes thing, but I just want to say that our camp scene was like surprisingly sweet. Like when we started our make camp on the boat, I was like, oh, these people like have nothing in common, and this is gonna be awkward as hell. And it started that way, but then it was actually I was like, oh, they're people, like they're also people. This is neat.
Yeah, I think sort of echoing what Alina is saying here. When I like first read The Lands Remaining and everything, I was like, oh, there's like no vulnerable move like quite the same way. Or like what I was like not concerned, but like what stood out to me is there's no Hargrave House, there's no Rodemaker Street. Like right there's like no sort of place to congregate. Like the Morning Tower, yes, but it's still different. Like, and so my concern was like also because you can like we haven't gotten there, but the idea is that you can be like on different parts through journeys and stuff. And I was like, how are you gonna get the characters together to like actually start making those bonds? But like having those two campfire scenes, I was like, oh, okay, I think it's gonna be fine. Like sort of immediately seeing these characters get together and have those um more like down moments that was really interesting and I think a really good like way to do that in this particular game. Yeah, I think the playtest was great. I think everything works the way that it's supposed to. The aspects are a really cool element. The struggles have been just so incredible every single time. Even the ones like attached to the question, because there was like a little part of me that was like, oh, because you can answer the question in like so many ways. Like, are you not gonna potentially set yourself up to like have to do a struggle when you answered a question that doesn't really like lend itself to the struggle. But I feel like that worked completely fine. I mean, like maybe that's just the one that we did, but it still made like total sense to me that we had to do this whole boatman thing first. And same with like with Old Gore, like even though there was like a slight moment where it was like, oh, we're gonna like put this beast to rest in like a non-violent way. But I feel like if you had wanted to get there, you could have. Like you wouldn't have to have like killed it violently necessarily. Like it could have been more of a mercy
More
kill.
of a mercy killing, and also I think it depends a lot on who gets the role, right? Like
Yeah.
like that's a big part of it. It's like, well,
Or
you,
just kind of like wait it out,
yeah,
like
yeah.
just let it be, let it have its final moments. But also like start to Alexander, like the way that you handled that was really, really cool. Like not just violence, but like having that be the name and that be what it turns to soul, I guess. I also really liked how it affected the candles. That very happy that we got to see that, like get a new complication. Um, yeah, just stars all around. I thought everybody's opening narratives were really cool. Um, I liked Old Smoke kind of party tricking it with slipping between the shadows. Like that was a very cute moment. I absolutely love the idea that the Nameless Legions just brains themselves. Just this is like, especially because we got that opening narration of Gavin having this like super elaborate, like esoteric eldritch ritual, and then the Nameless Legion was like, hit him over the head with a rock. Like, it's fantastic. Um, yeah, Nizelle, some great moments. I love that Nizelle's modus operandi is just to run away and look for trees. And I love that the struggle allows that to be an option. Yeah, no, I'm just very excited for the game. I think it's awesome. I think it works great.
I want to put a star before I forget it. I loved. Well, I thought everyone's stoking the fire was great, but I was really surprised and delighted by the Nameless Legion going ham on Elegy after you left. Like I thought that was pretty wild. I was like, holy shit. That's great though, because that'll be a fun thing to play with, right? Because Elegy's going to be really different when you go back, right? So that's really cool. Yeah.
A part of me was doing that, expecting that this would be the last session. But now I'm excited to go back to see what they messed up, everything that they broke. Yeah,
It's good that Morning
embodying,
Tower is sealed, right? I mean, like
yeah,
that's yeah.
oh, yeah, embodying that frustration. Actually, speaking of the Morning Tower, that's kind of like a part of the sort of like speaking more to the playtest of the game. I do see the um I think it's really interesting, having played the Between and public access, like going into this, and feeling like there are many more sort of kind of slightly bespoke avenues of advancement, rather than in in the betweener public access or Brindlewood Bay, like getting an advancement, being like, okay, I'll bump up a stat, I'll get another move. Here being like, oh, do I want to bump up one of my like kind of it core stats or Cinder? And like Cinder is technically a core stat, but feels very separated because of the way that interacts with the moves.
It has its
Cinder
own
almost
advance
feels
too,
like,
right? Yeah.
yeah, it almost feels equivalent to like what level would be in an OSR game or something, or at least that's how I feel like people talk. How I feel like people talk about level in OSR spaces is more like how Cinder works here, where it's a measure of like how much can you really affect the world around you. Um, so that's interesting. I already talked in like office hours earlier about why I think the aspects really work, because they are like just pure description. So you can use them a lot more flexibly than you can say, like, you know, if you get given an if you take like an EpiPen in public access or something, you know, that might come up. Or you might struggle, you know, to use that. Whereas with the aspects, like we start off with 10 boxes, and if we didn't make camp, I would have filled all of them in by this session. Speaking of which, on the topic of like the make camp, I think this will be my last thing for right now, is just like on the topic of make camp, like the way that the embers are set up. I think it's just a great choice to have them all be attached to a specific order, a specific faction, a specific part of the previous world's hierarchy, because that gives you a distinct like two layers that you can work with in terms of social interaction. Whereas like, what do I think about your order versus what do I think about you, and vice versa.
It's great. Love it.
I've gushed already the last couple of times that we've chatted, but the playtest has been wonderful for a number of reasons. Reading what you had written before getting a chance to play it, it felt like, I can't believe Jason has done this in 8 weeks or 7 weeks or whatever it's been. It just blew my mind.
I wake up, scarf down breakfast, and right. Yeah.
Like if you need a testimonial, I can't believe you did this, because it plays better than it reads. Right? It really has been a phenomenal experience, in part because such wonderful play group, no expectations who I was going to be playing with, really well, and as folks have already said, like it just hits those beats. Like you've used advancement, but it's a narrative incentivization structure that I don't think exists in any other system. That feels so good and so natural.
In another fantasy game, yeah, they're rare. It's rare, right? Like it's really, really rare.
The
for, like,
struggles
yeah.
are I mean, it's the way I want to do combat from now on. They're not just cinematic, they're engaging. You're listening to everybody else involved, and they offer sort of different, almost choose your own adventure pathways as each opens up. I kind of thought, that it was going to be just violence all the way through. I could even see us like maybe removing the axe from the boar's head and healing the boar. To finally, like there, just the possibilities.
You could have, yeah, like you could, you could totally see, because all it says is how do you use the axe to ease its suffering, and so that's written in a way that like you can interpret it differently.
It's just elegantly so well put together, Jason. I can't say enough good things about having now played it. It feels so both familiar and fresh that it's something I want to just play. Like if we
Oh, thank you. I love hearing that. That's so great.
Really thing, yeah.
Yeah, I have to say, I've said it a million times in other places, and I wasn't like bullshitting. Like I believed it. When I started having this idea, when I started working on it in earnest, it's really been about 3-ish months now. When I started working on it in earnest, I realized really quickly, I was like, I feel like I've got something on my hands here. Like I feel like I've got something on my hands, and I know that because I know how the between and public access work. And so I know where this is going. There was something about like I kind of understood where this was at, and so yeah, and I think like once I kind of realized that, that's when I really locked in and I was like, I have got to do this because I don't want to let it get away from me. I can't let it get away from me. So, Matt, let's go make a podcast, an accountability podcast. Let's go do that. Let's do a writing contest. I literally used a writing contest to explain a new CFB rule to everyone, right? Let's do pitch day and get some more content going, get some more stuff written. It was the character keeper. Like, I've never moved on a character keeper so fast. I usually wait till the whole damn game is done before I even start thinking about that, you know? And so, but it's because I want to play. I was like, I want to play. I got to make sure it's good, you know? And so I'm just very thankful that, like, you know, I'm very happy that, like, my instincts have been proven correct so far. I'm happy that I've been doing this long enough to where I can tell as I'm playing the game in the playtest, I can tell what I'm doing and what you're doing and what the game is doing. I'm really good at like separating those things in my head. Happily, I do think the game, from my end at least, I don't. This game runs itself in so many ways. I really I read the stuff. I pretend to be the guys sometimes, and then I read more stuff. Like, it's really kind of all on the players, which is really what you want, right? And so, like the that part of it is really good. So, like, on the one hand, like, I'm really happy that my instincts have proven correct so far on this. But also, what I'm really happy about is just how bi-directional the energy has been on this game, right? Like, it has kept me going, like, you know, doing the podcast with Matt, hearing the awesome narrations that Jess and Ren do at the top of the podcasts, this amazing character keeper that Alina's put together, everyone's like cool ideas for pitch day. Like, it's all kind of like helping me as well. Like, and in that sense, it really feels like a group effort in some sense, right? Like, it feels like we're all kind of like on the ship, you know, rowing to the great forest, right? Like, we're getting there, you know. And so it's just really great. And like I said, the last time I don't feel this like really intense surge of creativity very often. Um, the last time was probably when I developed the mystery system for Brindlewood Bay, and then probably just the whole process of writing public access. But I wrote public access in a few days, so like it wasn't like it didn't last that long. You know, like the process was really quick. You know, so this has been a much more like it's a length, not much more. It's a lengthier process. It's a more involved game than public access. But I have that same feeling of like, "Oh, I've got something here. You know, it's hitting. You know, so I'm really glad that that's the feedback I'm getting on this. I'm really glad you've had that response. Uh, I think if I can get this game in people's hands and they play it according to the rules, then I think they're going to have the same experience. So,
Uh, just playtest comments. I felt like when we got to the Great Forest, it felt different. And I don't know exactly what it was, but I definitely felt like we're no longer on Elegy.
very
This is a very
intentional part
different
of the
place.
design. Yeah, a very intentional part
Yeah.
of the design. I knew when I was writing that, I was like, it had like structurally and indeed the scripted part. It all has it. It has to feel like a transition. And I think part of that was what I wrote. Part of it is the idea of introducing a a struggle right away. You do a struggle to kind of like almost like cleanse what came before.
Uh-huh.
And then you introduce the mystery. So we're further like new. And then you do another journey. So it's like you're getting further and further away from elegy, you know, as you do it, you know.
Yeah, loved it. I've gushed before about how much I love the old fires because they have so much to build on. There's so much like great story fodder like throughout the Ember. Um, the other thing that I've been thinking about is I wonder if I don't know if this is necessarily like a critique. It might just be something that keepers need to be aware of, but I wonder if the incentive to open the morning tower is primarily above the table. Like I don't know why like
Yeah,
Nizelle's gonna go back because she's got a sacrifice there, but I don't know why Old Smoke or Gavrin
would. Yeah. No,
would.
it's an interesting point. The only like thing we have right now is just in the beginning it says the nuns can help you. Like that's kind of like that's the only justification I've given. My sense, having run these games a lot, is you get to hand wave a lot of this because like players don't get too hung up on stuff like that. You know, like one of the things I worried about a lot when I was first writing the mystery system, and when I was and as the games kind of developed, one of the things I was really concerned about was, are there going to be players who want to contradict what the game wants them to do? Like, I'm playing a murder maven and I just don't want to go investigate the murder mystery. I want to go just sit and read books. You know, that'd be stupid and that wouldn't be a fun game, but like I guess you could do it happily. I've never run into it. I've never run into it where the players are like, where the players like don't feel they have enough reason to do something. You know, so it's an interesting note. I th- I think I think it holds together, and even honestly it could just be that like, you know, because like the Lord question exists above the table, right? So there's really no reason why the Morning Tower question couldn't, you know. So I think if a group wants to play it that way, I think it's probably perfectly fine. Like maybe it's not the characters actively opening it up, but it's the nuns choosing to do it. The one thing though is when you open it up, you have a struggle right away. There's like a boss waiting on you in the Morning Tower. So there's that part of it. Like you do have to be there to open it, but you know.
I thought something similar about personal direction for characters, and I don't know if this fits or not. But this was just me sort of making notes on the side. But I thought, as people are waking up in their mausoleums, if there was an epitaph that had like a motto or something that they couldn't invoke, but the other players could invoke,
That's an
kind
interesting
of
idea.
put them
Yeah.
back on course, you know? So I was thinking something along those lines. If you did have someone kind of, I want to do this crazy thing that no one else in the group wants to do to kind of course correct, but
Yeah. I
something.
mean, I don't know if you noticed or not, but all of the Ember moves, when read together, when the titles are read together, they make up a vow or a story. So there is like this idea of like a little vow, because like if you look at Old Smoke and you read them all, the oh, I don't have all the moves in front of me because of the way the character keeper works, but let me pull it up real quick.
If listeners were paying attention, that's exactly what I did in Gavrin's Old
I
Fire.
heard it. I
The
heard it.
the
Yeah, I heard it. I picked
the
up on it.
chant
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
was all the moves of the candle
Yeah,
bearer,
so
basically.
if you read all of the Lock and Key move titles together, it says the mouse in the tower whose walls recall wind and where fire and frost break, all are turned without, but the meek who walk freely. Like that's meant to be like kind of the 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 core motto or saying of the group, and every Ember has that, right? They're not always like a vow or a motto, like or they're a little different. Like the crown's pearl is like a wedding vow, which is interesting, you know. So yeah, they all kind of have a little thing like that as well.
When we were doing the struggle yesterday, I had the same kind of thought, like, wouldn't it be cool if we had these 4 points, the movements, contained in almost like an epic verse about this struggle that we could become part of a history? For my play groups, they would love that stuff.
I mean, I think that's the kind of thing that like that feels like really really great like table, you know, like artifacts of play. I'm not sure how much it has to go into the game, but yeah, yeah. That's really great. Well, I had such a good time. Is there any other bits of feedback or anything else anybody wants to say? I thought this was really great. Okay. Well, then in that case, I will we'll sort out a time to pick this up. But for now, thank you so much. If you're watching the videos, if you stuck with us through 3 sessions, we hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much. And I'm going to wave goodbye.